Oops. Well, we got everybody but me. Never mind. Here I am, Mirador Television, and it is the 25th day of August in the year 2022. We are broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel in Lewis, the cradle of American independence, and Lewis, the cradle of democracy, going back to the Battle of Lewis in 1264. So lots of history surrounding us, but that doesn't stop us from taking a look at what's coming up and going on. I'm Keith Hayes. Call me Mr. Keith. And I get all sorts of things going on this program. As many people as can fight and can actually express unpopular views, the better. Because that's what we need to hear. There is so much repression of the media in so many parts of the world, and it's creeping up here as well. Is the wokes are determined that they know what should be broadcast, what should be said, what should be published and publicized, and they don't. Or if they do, they're not willing to expose it to any sort of examination. They are right, and that's it. Well, not on this television station, they're not. We listen to almost everybody and express our own opinions. So get used to it. But if you like that sort of thing, stick with us. We very much enjoy having those sort of people around, no matter how wild or unpopular your opinion may be. Right, having said that, let's take a breather. Get the show off to a nice start. This is what we call our Potter's Wheel. And for those people who are far too young to remember the early days of television, is to join the programs satisfactorily, because there were, in those days, you didn't necessarily make a program to any specific time. To join them and to fill in the time, they had a number of little short videos, short films. One of them was known as the Potter's Wheel, and it just showed a pot being shaped as raw clay by a potter. We have a different Potter's Wheel. It's just a short visit to a local park, South Overgrange Park, and it is very relaxing. So let's get off to a relaxing start, because there was enough mayhem around this morning. Okay, there we are, a nice trip to a historic park, because the Grange that was featured in that little clip, and where the park now is, was built from stone from Lewis Priory, which was built, believe it or not, in 1080, and was built by Gundrada, the wife of the first overlord of Lewis after the Norman invasion, the invasion of 1066. So there you are. We start off with a little bit of history, and we go on from there. Let's start to take a look at the headlines, shall we? No, we won't. Just for a moment, let me tell you what's coming up today. First of all, we'll have Suzanne Mouchot from New York eventually. She normally comes on around about 9-ish, 9 o'clock, 9:15, gives us a view of what's going on in New York. We expect Jane Watkins, who is back from Scotland, back from Gordonston, in fact, and she gives us a view of what's happening in Hastings, despite the battle. And then we've got Fergus Wood to chat to us about wine. And if they all come together, they can all chat to each other. And have we got anybody else? I'm sure we have, and I keep forgetting who we've got on this morning. And a host of really first-class people who give us. Hang on, we've got some comments. Ooh, right. Oh, Mickey's there. 6 groups, corpse rations own 90% of the global media and have control over whatever narrative they want to push onto the masses. Well, Mickey, we're trying to break the mold and to let people have their say. You particularly are faithful. You come in and we try to pass on some of your comments. BitChute or Rumble or other apps, and you get the investigative journalism that you don't see on the mainstream media. Well, we'll give that a try, and we'll let our viewers have a go. Now we are broadcasting from, this is Mirador Television, by the way. We are broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes in the UK. But we hope that there are people in Lewes, in the US, in Delaware, watching us as well. Because we do have a little presence on the Delaware Facebook site. And from time to time, we do get comments, I'm happy to say. Right, okay. There are lots of things that we can get into this morning because, as I say, we've got Suzanne coming in from the United States, Jane from Hastings, then our wine expert who is actually going off to do exciting things, but he can tell you about that, Fergus Wood. And then into the studio around about 10 o'clock or so comes barreling that bundle of fun, Sarah Fitz-Hayes, who is an artist of no mean talent, but most certainly is exciting in the sort of things that she does. Well, now, Mickey Connors. Mickey, thank you for telling us this. He said, I've had people from around the world message me because they see one of my comments on your platform. Oh, good. I'm glad you're getting a reaction, Mickey. And I'm glad that, hang on, let's what happens if we say show? Yeah, there we go. Mickey Connors. And I'm glad that people are seeing your comments, Mickey, because I don't always necessarily agree with you, but I do defend your right, as you well know, to say it. And you can say it on this platform. And I'm glad that people pick things up and that they actually email you to say that they've watched. So that's very pleasing from our point of view. We know that we get people all over the world, but you also get people all over the world, and you're obviously sharing. And God bless you. We appreciate that. Right. Okay. Let's now change or turn to the newspaper headlines. Indeed. Right. Okay. The Daily Express. Boris, we must endure the fuel bill pain to defeat Putin. Boris Johnson went to Ukraine yesterday. And he met with President Zelensky, and said, hey, we're with you all the way. And I am going to ask my countrymen whom I still lead, to invoke the spirit of the Second World War. Put up with the tough situation we have with energy prices and costs. Put up with it so that we can defeat Vladimir Putin. And that is from the... good morning. How are you this morning?
Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. Is another member of the staff here who is always cheery in the morning, but I actually really approve of what he does first thing, because here he is at 8 o'clock. He's getting the bar ready for the day. You can't have a more noble profession than that. And we will be sampling some of your goods come about 11 o'clock. There we go. It all starts to happen around about this time in the White Hart Hotel at 8:42. Oh, 20 to 9. Right. Okay. The Daily Telegraph. Johnson, we're paying higher bills, but Ukraine is paying in blood, Ukraine is paying in blood, declares the Daily Telegraph's headline in its coverage of Boris Johnson's comments. While in Kiev, the paper says the PM called for the UK's allies not to waver in support for the invaded country. And some of the EU countries are beginning to say, no. Yeah, well, there we go. That's one of the things that we just have to put up with. The Guardian is warning of, or at least a warning that's come from the Ukrainians, is there will be catastrophe at a Ukraine nuclear plant if it becomes the center of activity during the war. What it says is the effects would be catastrophic and beyond anything of our comprehension if it should get blown up or get in the middle of a battle. The Metro, we will get justice for our live. The Metro doesn't follow up on the Ukraine war. What it does is it looks at the little girl, Olivia, yes, who was shot dead in Liverpool a couple of days ago when a gunman rushed into the house and shot her and wounded some of her family. They now have the man who is being pursued, who has only just been let out on license, is into drugs and mafia, gangland style stuff, and the gunman was after him, but seemed to have fired indiscriminately and shot the little girl dead. The Metro says, let's get justice for the little girl. It really is highlighting the fact that the police still haven't apparently a clue, although they found the victim, haven't a clue who was trying to shoot him, and they can't get him. Now, it seems to me that if it is part of gangland, it should be very easy to identify him. They haven't. And perhaps it's what we were saying yesterday, and what a lot of other people are saying, is the police have got to get a grip. Is that they are so busy gazing up their navels, up their navels, well, you know what I mean, is that they are not looking after the sort of thing that worries the average man in the street. And they need to. That's who they need to protect, first of all, before they go racing after anything else. And here is an example of, apparently, in Liverpool, there were 3 knifings, deaths from knifings or gunshots or whatever, in the last 48 hours. London, of course, continues to lead with all sorts of naughty things happening there. Our law and order in the streets is not what we expect it should be. Not at all, at all, at all. So that's what's being talked about. We just had a little note from Suzanne Mouchot to say that she'll be with us at 9:30. Those who are fans of Suzanne's, and we hope that the others that we're anticipating, will be along as well, so that we can have some lively discussion. I'm sure they will be. We have a pretty faithful group of people who like to come and let us know what they're thinking and reflect their own communities so that we can match it with ours. The Sun, for the sake of little Olivia talk. Well, the Sun is appealing to gangland people who know what's going on, what happened, and who was responsible. And they're saying, come on, snitch. It is difficult to get. The gangland people do tend to stick together. They don't want others snitching on them any more than they want to snitch on others. But nonetheless, when it comes to the death of a 9-year-old child, it is, and the paper is right. Come on, talk. Make sure that the police have all the evidence to be able to go looking for whoever shot this little girl. Now, the Financial Times is it looks at corporate stuff. Sometimes it goes into the realm of just our ordinary day-to-day stuff, but it then reverts to probably its main function, and that is what's happening in the business world. And it's saying cost of doing business is a crisis as company fuel bills rise, and ministers have been warned that companies are facing a cost of doing business crisis. It says many will renegotiate their electricity and gas rates in October, with commercial energy bills set to rise. Well, Mickey's become voluble. Let's see. Right, he's pointing out that it was an accidental shooting yesterday, and that's what he said. Yes, right. He's absolutely right. It does seem to be an accidental shooting, but nonetheless, accident or not, is we need to track down the gunman. And it is amazing that it's 48 hours on, and the police don't seem to have any more news other than they managed to nick the guy who is being pursued, who is a member of a gang in gangland, only let out on license from prison a few weeks ago. The whole country speaks with one voice, says the Daily Mirror, but still we are ignored. Freeze our bills now. Well, the cost of energy, there's a price cap rise this week, and we're all going to have to pay it. And the whole country speaks with one voice, it says, but still we are ignored, and the freeze, we should freeze our bills now. Well, that's what... right, Mickey says the police know who the gunman is, or they know what organized crime groups are involved in the dispute. I'm sure that you're absolutely right, Mickey. Absolutely right. The Daily Mail, fast track to deport Albanian boat migrants. Priti Patel has now arranged that the Albanians, and they landed in record number on the beaches yesterday, and continue to come in a steady stream, adding to the costs of our infrastructure and the services that we provide. And Priti has decided what she's going to do is to send these people within 24 hours back to Albania. Well, what's the view is, can she deliver? And the answer is we don't know, because she couldn't deliver the flights to Rwanda. And it's sad though it may appear to many people, is that it is the new world, new age lawyers who find every reason to stall these projects in the book through the courts. And that does not help the situation. Does not help the situation at all, at all, at all. All right. Then where do we go? The Times is alarmed over the Truss raid raised on the NHS. Now, Liz Truss has said in her campaigning that what she's going to do is to divert £10 billion each year from the NHS to social care. And that would slam the brakes on efforts to tackle waiting lists in the National Health Service, the report says. But of course, people are saying, what? Reduce the amount of money that the NHS gets at the moment. I personally think that a lot of the money that the NHS gets is abused. It is not paid into the stream of expenditure that it should. Let's give Mickey's thing a little run there. Because it's a fair enough comment. And the I says Labour's money troubles deepen. It appears that the Labour Party have overspent, and that Keir Starmer is now saying to the branches, don't raise money for yourself, raise money for the central party, because we're in the doo-doos about our spending. Oh, and everything you said, Mr. Starmer, amongst your hardworking people who don't really understand and don't care about party politics. And now here you're saying to your small groups, don't raise funds for yourself, raise funds for the party. Da-dun, 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 da-dun. Right. The star, the lovely star. Hard rain is going to fall. Well, it started. I can't see what is happening on the high street now, but it was settling in the brim of my hat, so it was dripping down this morning. I'm afraid that we're in for some bad storms throughout the day. So when you go out, make sure that you put on an appropriate coat, appropriate weather clothing for the weather, and there is a weather warning out from the Met Office that it's going to be pretty bad indeed. Now, when we talk about the rain, let's talk about the weather generally, because apart from the heavy rain, we will get some breezes. We may get some scattered cloud. In other words, the sun may peek through. But generally speaking, it is a serious, severe weather warning from the Met Office in place. Yes, sir, be my baby. No, sir, I don't mean maybe. 8:54 on the 25th day of August, 2022. So what we may do is let's see if we got anything that I think we should live by, shall we? This is where we're coming from, by the way. Well, there you are. From the White Hart. Is from the White Hart, indeed. Mickey says that he didn't get hit with what do you call the decent stuff? Storm footage in Hastings. Yeah, the decent stuff. I like that, Mickey. I really like that. Right, okay. Let's go to where we are. Let's like Lewis For goodness sake, let's like Lewis. town. And we can now get rid of that with the nasty little man. You're going ha 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 ha. Right. Right. Okay. Well, the weather is much the talking point this morning. I understand that there may be some delays on the trains. There wasn't a delay on the buses, and in fact, this morning we had a delightful lady driver who was just so very pleasant. She helped start the day along with the White Hart staff in very, very good odor. It was really very pleasant to get cracking this morning, even though the world is still in dreadful, dreadful shape. Nonetheless, there we are. We are forging ahead as a civilized society, he said, tongue in cheek. Oh yeah. Well, it's just turned over 9:02. So hopefully we'll have some of our guests or our co-hosts with us in a little while, and we can have some fairly spirited debate. Goodness gracious me. Indeed, indeed, indeed. First of all, one of the things that caught my eye looking at the inside of the newspaper this morning was a little item that the French have given their lifeguards and beach attendants and those sort of people holidays in the middle of the summer. So the beaches, when they are most needed by holidaymakers, are going to be closed because the lifeguards have been given a lot of time off, being given their summer holidays. I mean, how silly can you get? All right. I'm not making an ethnic thing. Is we would do and are doing equally silly things. The French are obviously joining us, and if we actually scratch the surface, is no country at the moment is displaying a great deal of common sense. We just have to put up with some of the nonsensical things that they are done and the way that they actually impact on us eventually a little bit down the line. Right. Well, that was that. Let's just. The second test starts today, by the way, and since we were whomped by the South Africans in the first one, it'll be a matter of pride to see how we get on. It would have terrifying consequences for mankind if there was a mega volcanic eruption. And it says that new research has shown there's a 1 in 6 chance of a mega volcanic eruption. Should we actually get prepared for it? Because the last one was devastating. Although we do tend to take the word of the historians about Pompeii and the other town that got buried in ash, and I've forgotten what it is just now. But of course, that was the Roman world. It's not the world; it was the Roman world. Nonetheless, it was devastating in terms of how they actually looked at the world in those days. So yes, Pompeii devastated the world as it was known to Roman times. Now, I think it's going to take a bit of a more of a mega blast to actually get rid of us. We're all over the place, mankind. Places we shouldn't really be. I'm hearing all sorts of lovely noises from the hotel this morning. I don't know whether it's whoop-de-doo from the staff or whether we've got some feisty people. We'll find out in a little while, because I also want to walk out and find out if they are going to start their filming in time for us to report to you what's going on the high street in filmmaking things. Right. Guess the MP who thinks he looks like this digital double. Oh, that's. I don't think that that's really much interest to us. Is there anything in the social columns? Well, there is not. Yeah, there are some interesting things, but they would take quite a long time to read and find out what they're about. The part of the debate on abortion. Let's see. No, not a great deal. Not a great deal. It is a poor news day, apart from the headline stuff. So what we need to do is to look at some other things, I think. Let's consider what's going on in Lewis, because the bus station issue rumbles on. And I made the point the other day that why don't the developers, now, what is their name? It'll come back to me in a moment. The developers actually make some sort of effort to invoke CSR, that is corporate social responsibility, which the world gets very excited about, but then, of course, like a lot of things, it starts to fade away. But corporate social responsibility, each company is supposed to have an element of it, is to have a director in charge of it. And to me, it would seem to be a good way of negotiating a satisfactory conclusion to the bus station, instead of the political class saying one thing, people on social media saying another, the company saying a third thing, and others getting into the act as well. Why don't we all get together and say, look, corporate social responsibility, in other words, how business treats its environment, both living environment and the beauty of the world surrounding us, is why don't we actually start to discuss on that basis? But the company involved in the development plan for that hasn't got a CSR policy, or at least it is not on their website. Now, it is not an absolute requirement, legal requirement. Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, but hungry.
Where
that restaurant is.
Well, if you actually go past the reception through that way, I think you'll find it in two rooms down. Right, somebody who's just woken up and looking for breakfast, and so they should. He's hungry. God bless him. Right, what was I saying? When I was, it's lovely when people wander in and we're able to say hello. And I think that I should have a little bit of a time to start to look around the hotel. It looks as if it might be a few things that are of interest this morning. Right, that's Well, actually, we've had a lot of good comment on something that's from the other side of the world, and that is a Rocky Mountain scene as you're driving through the Rocky Mountains in British Columbia. So let's. Oh no! Before that, here. Get scared.
Mickleham Priory is near Lewes. It was a former Augustine 13th century monastery. The main building has been preserved, but the church was pulled down by Henry VIII. The monks there had a reputation for naughtiness. Ghostly figures of monks are often seen walking the grounds. Stories of orgies and chasing the girls in the local village were legion. The priory became a private residence. One of its occupants was Sir Thomas Sackville, who lived there in the late 1500s. He was, by all accounts, a nasty bit of work. His ghost is said to bully the other spirits, as well as unsuspecting mortals. It must be true, I felt him kick me.
Well, if you get an opportunity, if you're new to Lewes or you're just visiting Lewes, try to go out to Mickleham Priory. It is extremely well preserved, very well preserved, and it is worthwhile taking a look around. And in fact, the ghosts are still very much alive there. I've been out there, and I really, I felt the presence, some presence, and I certainly felt something. It didn't actually tweak my bum, so I guess I wasn't that attractive to the Sackville ghost, but I did feel a kick. So perhaps he was saying, "Get out of the way, and let me go to the young ladies." Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's very, very difficult, isn't it? Okie dokie. I was looking, wasn't I, for another program, and I will look again. Let's just take a look at our first program, the second part of it, just to show what we were doing years ago. It is 9:14 now, by the way, just for those of you who now have to get out of the house and into work. Here we go. There's been a few new additions to the town over the summer.
A whole raft of new eating and sleeping places cropped up in Lewes over the summer. Most of them were in Cliff, but Cote is at the top of the town on the high street. So far, I've only been in for a cup of coffee, but they've been very welcoming, and I suppose that it looks as if it'll do very well. Give it a try. Then there is Aqua at the bottom of the town, attached to the Premier Inn, also new. I've been in there as well, and they were equally as welcoming, and didn't mind that I just popped in for a cup of coffee and not a full meal. But Fuego is something else. I've only looked in through the front door. It's a new concept, of course, of cafe bar. Not new in the continent, I suppose, but not terribly frequent over here. And I haven't been in there because I'm a bit afraid I might go for the bar rather than the coffee. But one day I'll give it a chance. Anyway, some places new in Lewes over the summer and places for you to try.
I'm here in the village of Charleston, a charming, picturesque British village with a population of 500.
That's not Charleston, Keith. This is Charleston, South Carolina. A charming, picturesque village with a population of 120,000 in the United States.
What about this town, Boston? 120 miles north of London in England. Population, 35,000.
That's not Boston. This is the real Boston. Boston, Massachusetts, population 4 million.
What about this lovely little city, York? I suppose you Yankees have one of those too.
Yes, we do. Welcome to the new and improved York.
Now here's one you can't beat, London. That's London in England. Population, 8 million.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Join us for a journey to different cities with the same name.
A new show comparing big American cities with the small British and European towns that share the same name.
We never should have let you win that little war, Melissa.
Actually, Keith, we beat you at 2 little wars.
What's in a name?
Coming soon to public television.
This was what the prison looked like when the British Admiralty bought it to house the prisoners of war.
So they bought the prison and they made many adaptations to it. One of them, interestingly, they took the doors off the cells.
Good for freedom of movement, but not so good for privacy. The doors survive in the local museum, all that remains of the prison's interior. The prisoners were separated. The enlisted men, mostly Finns, Swedes and a few Ireland Islanders, were put into the prison, 3 to a cell. But it was a different situation for the Russian officers.
The officers, very different case. They were billeted out amongst the gentry families of the town and surrounding areas, not just Lewes. They had freedom of movement, they had freedom of association, and they generally joined in if you like, middle to gentry class society. So we have an account, for example, of the officers being very popular dancing partners at local balls because they could waltz so much better than Englishmen. There we go.
Not all the Russians lost themselves in the pleasures of the waltz. Many, like George.
He sat on the bank while the river still chattered onto him, a babbling procession of the best stories in the world. That was the excitement that Mole experienced in the story Wind in the Willows. And indeed, rivers large and small everywhere all have many stories to tell. The River Ouse that flows through Lewes is no different. In fact, for much of the town's history, it has played an important part. Today, the river carries nothing but pleasure craft. But for a long time, it was a busy, bustling port. About a mile upstream from here is the village of Hamsey. It sits on a triangle of land which splits the river as it curves down towards the town. Hamsey is barely a village today. A few houses with the 13th century church standing in splendid isolation. But Hamsey was a Saxon port in the pre-Norman era. Historians estimate that over 1,000 people lived here, populating a port that saw ships sail up the Ouse to trade goods. There is no doubt that the Normans had a bit to do with its demise. The area was handed over to a Norman lord. But the community was attacked by an enemy it couldn't stop. An army of rats, which disembarked from one of the visiting ships, went ashore and infected the village with bubonic plague, the Black Death.
Well, there we are. That's a look back to some of the things that we did in the past, and a little reminder of what Lewes is all about. Now, we came back off holiday on Monday, and we spent this week looking at various things to see how we can improve them, freshen them, but also add various programs. And I, in my usual way, managed to get, I pulled the Jack DeManio, I managed to get the dates wrong. And indeed, the holiday is not on the 31st, as I've been saying, but the 31st is, I think, on Wednesday. So, in fact, Thursday of next week, when we come back with a resume. So forgive me for getting that wrong, but in the meantime, I'm trying to show you stuff that you'll find interesting and that isn't too heavy, particularly in the morning. Good morning, sir.
Outside, then.
I see that, yes.
Yes.
But they're not anywhere near as good as us.
No.
No. In fact, I'm going to go out in a minute and find out, have they started filming yet?
No, I think it's tonight. I'm not sure.
Oh, it's tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
Not sure.
Well, you're on tonight, aren't you?
No.
Oh, I was going to give you a camera and say, do the midnight flip. Once again, the wonderful staff here at the White Hart, absolutely terrific people. Cliff and Sally Ayres still on holiday. I think they'll be back sometime next week. But they certainly know how to pick people who forge into a good team. All right. Let's well, since I'm here, perhaps I can have just a little chat, because one of the things that I am concerned about, and I've worked in countries right throughout Europe, India, Asia, and Africa, where press repression, people repressed from expressing their views, is prevalent. And I am determined that that will not happen here. How important is Mirador? Well, in terms of its spirit and its approach to our lifestyle, our approach to whether we repress comment or not is quite absolutely clear. Absolutely clear. We oppose any form of censorship unless it's libelous. And we, as a consequence, give rein to anybody who would like to make their own comments. And we would love to have you. If you're passing the White Hart, just drop in. We love to have you sitting with us and chatting and hearing your point of view, and to some extent your background, because Lewis most certainly has a great history in terms of democratic feeling, starting with the Battle of Lewis in 1264, right down to modern day struggle with repression. And if you want a champion in the fight for press freedom, now a lot of you will say, come on, it's all the fault of the media. Try living in a country where the ability to express your opinion is under threat from those who are in charge, those who have governance. It is pretty frightening. And for instance, in Kosovo, which we were part of fighting to unleash freedom, is that one of the best little investigative journalists, that I say little because she was diminutive, is Fatmir. I can't remember her last name, Fatmir. And she was dogged in her investigative reporting. And the government, just having received huge amounts of money to develop freedom of expression, freedom of governance, so that they could join the EU or get in line to join the EU, it turfed her out of press conferences because she wrote stuff that they didn't like. And ultimately, Fatmir was shot. Now, not fatally, but would you want to go out on the streets again asking questions when you knew there was somebody out there who wanted to do your head in? To actually make you worry as to what would happen to you if you expressed your opinion. One of the things, I can get angry about all sorts of things, but one of the things that we still have in this country is that we're able to actually express ourselves and not get tossed around by the establishment. Oh, they try, but the spirit of the United Kingdom and the people here is that we do not like being told what to do. And when our ability to express ourselves when we want and where we want and how we want is under threat, then everything starts to come alive. All right, it's 9:31, and I hope that we will actually get Suzanne and some of the others in the not too distant future, because we can have a jolly good chat amongst ourselves. I'm going to see whether, in fact, because sometimes the technology, brilliant though it is, lets you down. And so I'm just going to take a very quick look to make sure that we aren't getting any messages through let's see. That is 9:30 to you. Yes, we'll say to Suzanne. Here it is, Suzanne. It's 9:32, and we'd love to see you here anytime that you're ready. Oh, it is. Okay, she says, I can join now. Yes, ma'am. So we can expect Suzanne at any time, and we will go back hopefully to get the papers, because we will need to refer to them as we go and chat throughout the morning. Let's find just a little something to, because you don't want to hear me blattering on consistently. So let's see if there's a nice little. Oh, we were going to show you roaring through the Rockies. So let's do that.
hard to be filming in the car here because the road is rough, patched up all over the place, and hard to keep the camera steady. Now that is a rugged mountain range.
Well, I have done that drive, and it is incredible. I've also done it on a train and gone through the spiral tunnels, and that in itself is also a thrill. You can see below you the engine coming out of the tunnel when you still haven't gone into it. It winds down the mountainside. Just a very quick, while we're waiting for our guests to join us, is what the papers are saying. First of all, the Express says Boris, we must endure fuel bill paying to defeat Putin. Is this a wanton cry? Do we have the guts that we had in 1939? And for that matter, the guts which we maintained through to 1953, with sharing and coupons and rationing and so on. Do we have that sort of guts anymore to support what could be? And if Mr. Putin wins this thing, it could easily lead to another world war. So think about that when you don't want to do something in support of those who are trying hard to fight Putin. Don't get all upset and sort of because it may be that you will get into a situation where you cannot eat chocolates, you cannot eat the good things in life. It's a great pity. Anyway, he was in Ukraine yesterday. Not Ukraine. Yes, he's in Ukraine. Sorry, speaking to Zelensky and saying, "Let's defeat Putin. Let's put up with the pain. Let's put up with domestic misery, which shows that we can be in charge." Can be in charge of our own destiny and not let be rollicked around by people who have weird and wonderful ideas. The Daily Telegraph, Johnson, we're paying higher bills. Ukraine is paying in blood. That's his rallying cry. We are paying higher bills. Well, everybody is aware of that. But the Ukraine is paying in blood. And there was a lot of flag waving and enthusiasm to help Ukraine when this war first started. Is it wearing off? Or are we, as a nation, willing to take on extra burdens, take on the fact that we may not be able to get a chocolate bar when we want, take on the crisis in the Ukraine by tightening our belts and giving mutual as well as financial support to our brotherhood nation, if you like. It's nothing from Suzanne saying she's having difficulty getting through. We can expect her at any moment, I think. It is 4:30 in New York. What is it? It's 4:41 because it's 9:41 here in the UK and in Lewis in East Sussex, which is where we're broadcasting from, and from a very famous old coaching inn, the White Hart. And if you look at those rafters behind me, they covered the head for a while of one Thomas Paine, philosopher, adventurer, a whole host of various things. And Tom Paine actually wrote a tome called The Rights of Man, in which he argued that there should be more responsibility given to and more ability to take part in life and not leave it to a small minority who had privilege and power. So this is where it all began. It all began. Now, I heard a little ping, whether in fact that is significant, I don't know. I'm going to just check it if that's okay with you. Right, it's from the man who did our gardening for a long time, and I will find an old program of Alex Hoare, who did our gardening program along with Joey. Alex has had a very, very bad summer with illness in his family and looking after them. So he hasn't been able to get involved with us. But I hope that he will be there in this coming autumn series. So that's who was on there. But I don't see that we have anything from Suzanne saying that she can't get through. So we will look forward to seeing her very shortly. And then, of course, we've got Fergus Wood on with his wine. And always good to talk with Fergus about wine. Wee, yes, indeed. Shall we see if we got another shorty, as it were, to this is like Lewis. Do you like Lewis? Oh, that little man. Well, I've just resent our invitation to Suzanne because I know she's standing by, and I'm a little worried that perhaps the original link to us didn't get through. The picture isn't great this morning, but once again, as I said, we're using this coming back from holiday period when everybody's really on holiday themselves to try and sort out just one or two things so that come September the 1st, which is not next Tuesday, but next Thursday, we are ready to ram in with a new set of programs and get everything going the way that it should, so that we are performing a useful service throughout the autumn up until Christmas. And we've got a good team. We've got a good team. It's because it is new, and we actually do. We lack money. No sense in fooling around and pretending that we don't. But we're trying to do something about that. And if you want to help, by all means, if you want to give a fiver, we'd be very happy to accept it. Let us know. You can look up our website, miradortelevision.com, and it should tell you there just how you can let us have a few shekels off you. But if not, just enjoy us. It's okay. We are not asking you or trying to get you to be bought. Right, you are. Well, here I am all on my own still, and it is 9:51, and I'm just keeping an eye on the monitor here to show that we are actually going out, and not terribly well, I'm afraid, but still. That's it. Incidentally, Tom Paine, whom I mentioned a moment ago and who wrote The Rights of Man here, two interesting things about him that Bill Bryson, the historian, says, and that is that Tom Paine coined the phrase "the United States," that it was he who actually gave the name to the new country that came out of the colonies. Next, he was driving by, when I say driving, we're talking about the 1700s, early 1800s. He was traveling by the Palace of Westminster, and he said to his companion, whom we think was Ben Franklin, listen, my ideal is that there you have the reigning lords and the monarchy governing us and telling us what to do. But my ideal would be that we have a group for the ordinary man. And what should we call it? The House of Commons. Wow. Some visionary, some visionary. And indeed, although he is a controversial man, Tom Paine, the world sat up and took notice of him. I can't understand why nobody is joining me this morning. Perhaps they don't like me anymore. It is 9:53, and we are ready to bring in our colleagues to all talk together, but I can't seem to have them. Beat the technology this morning and appear on our screen, which is very unhappy circumstance. Aha! There she is. Now, let us say good morning to the very beautiful Suzanne Mouchot Good morning, Suzanne.
Hi, good morning. Sorry, I didn't get your, well, it's good to be here.
You didn't see our invitation?
No, I had to search but it's great to be here. Sorry.
We give you a few days off, and you're totally out of kilter. Oh, good morning. We've got two lovely ladies here in backsacks. Have you come to look at Lewis?
No, we just briefly here. We're running the South Downs Way.
Oh, you're going the South Downs Way?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a magnificent hike.
Isn't it?
Yes.
We're running, actually.
Sorry?
We've been running it.
Have you? Come here a moment, because we have here a lady in New York, Suzanne Rousseau. What's your name? Kate. Kate is going to walk the Downs, which are our mountains, if you like, and it's very beautiful. Now, Suzanne is always looking at. She's an architect in New York, and she always is looking. Come on around here so that you can be seen. That's it. She explores America like nobody else. One moment she's in New York, and the next she's in Alaska.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, have a lovely day.
Yeah, well, before you go, tell her where you're from.
I'm from Emsworth on the south coast. Do you know Emsworth? Between Portsmouth and Chichester.
I do not know, but it sounds lovely.
It's along the coast here, and actually, in Saxon times, Chichester and Lewis vied for being the most important towns in the United Kingdom. So those days have gone, but that's where she's from. That's where she is.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely. Enjoy the South Downs Way.
Thank you.
Right, there we go. Right, I'm sorry to have interrupted you, but
it's great.
It's always nice to have people who are coming into the hotel. And
Have a
Jane
little
is entertaining him at the moment. Jane is actually standing in the bar, and my tongue is hanging out, but it's not. We can't open it yet.
It's too early.
Right. Okay. Now, please tell me what you've been up to since I gave you a little bit of time off.
I know.
You're not getting away with anything, you know. So, what have you been doing?
Well, we actually went on holiday with the family. So we went down to Florida, which is kind of the most southern state, as you probably know, on the United States on the East Coast. So we had a beautiful time. We stayed at a place called Marco Island, and it's right on the Gulf of Mexico. And it was beautiful. It was completely beautiful. Gorgeous sunsets, gorgeous sunrises. The kids were hilarious. And then I came back on, I guess it was Saturday. Our flight was canceled. No, not Saturday, late. Our flight was canceled. And then so I had to change all the flights, and we had to stay extra nights in an airport hotel, which was not much fun. But then I got back, and then we dropped my daughter off at college yesterday.
Ah, yes. She's started. This is her first year at college, is it not?
First year. It's my first child going to college, and it's her first year. Yeah, so
very nervous.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful place. She's going to a place called Marist College. It's a really nice liberal arts college, about 2 hours away from here, so it's not too far. But
no. And what courses is she going to take?
So she thinks she's going to do environmental engineering. So that's what she's starting off as. So we'll see. You know, she's into biology and chemistry, and she thought she would combine it with environmental engineering. So we'll see. Yeah,
I find it very different for young people today who can sort of go to a college or a university and change what they want to be. Because when I was a boy, I wanted to be a train driver. And for years, that's all I ever wanted to be. I had to be thrown into the great deep British Columbia before I suddenly realized that there are other things than being a train driver.
No, it's true. I mean, travel is so important because you really do learn new things and meet new people and change your perspective. I mean, even just a short trip away from your immediate surroundings can really change your perspective. So, well, absolutely. You then became a famous journalist. So from train conductor to famous journalist. Pretty neat.
Oh, I didn't want to be a conductor. I wanted to drive the engine, the steam engine.
Oh, I see.
Incidentally, we have here, no more than 5 miles away, a reconstruction of a railway, a steam railway called the Bluebell Line, and it runs for about 20 miles from Lewes to I think it's Forest Row towards London anyway, and it has a fine collection of old steam trains and so on. And one of the real beauties is at Christmas time, you can go and get into one of those great old Pullman cars that you see in movies, and you can actually have Christmas dinner, silver service, served to you as you chug through the countryside. And then you stop at a little place called Horsted Canes, and you get out, and a local choir sings carols with you. And then you get back into the train, and you come back to Lewes, and it's a marvelous, marvelous experience. It brings tears. I can feel my voice breaking now at the very thought of it. It's really great.
So excited about it.
Good morning. We've got all sorts of activity in the hotel this morning. It's terrific.
I know, it's wonderful. I know you love the drop-ins. Everybody just coming over.
Oh, absolutely. To be able to say good morning. But I also said this morning, Suzanne, I am the luckiest man in the world, because apart from talking to you, I come in every morning and I have these two ladies who look after the hotel in reception, and nobody could be kinder and sweeter and nicer when I walk through the door. Coffee is always ready for me, and Jane actually sets up the lights, so all I have to do is to sit down and go da 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 da.
Oh, but
The workplace environment is absolutely superb.
Yeah, it's such a joy to wake up and to have something to look forward to and be with good people. That's all you can ask for, really. You know?
Absolutely. Now, remember that when we talk to people, we make the basic assumption that they know what we know. So you've just very briefly mentioned Florida, but describe a little bit of the things that you did while you were on holiday and some of the delights that Florida offers.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Florida is actually quite a beautiful state. It's really long. It's about, I think it takes about 12 hours or so, or maybe even longer to kind of get through the whole length of the state. So we were all the way down at the southern end, but on the west coast. And so it's a peninsula. And on the east side is the Atlantic Ocean, which we share with you guys. And then on the west coast is the Gulf of Mexico. So the sunsets in Marco Island are basically legendary. I mean, they're like these crazy, gorgeous, multiple colors. It kind of, as soon as the sun hits the horizon, it kind of explodes, you know, so the color goes in all these amazing different directions. And so that's the biggest thing to do in Marco Island. But we also drove to Miami. I don't know if Miami is a fantastic city. Miami is right on the Atlantic Ocean. Has a lot of really fun, kind of cool, hip architecture. And when we first started having kids, when David and I, my husband and I, we used to go to Miami every summer. That was where we used to vacation with the kids. And so we would bring them to these crazy places like dance bars, and we'd bring the kids with us to the dance bars. So we thought for sure that they would want to go and look at it. And so they were so embarrassed. They were like, Mom, please do not bring me into this. It was so funny. Like, we used to come here, you know. Oh my gosh, it was really funny. So we drove.
Did you drink wine while you were away?
I did have some wine. I didn't drink a lot of wine, but I did have wine. Yes, yeah.
Because right now, Fergus is going to join us, and he is our wine expert.
Ah, wonderful. Fantastic.
Hello. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Keith.
Hi.
You met Suzanne before?
I think
very
so.
lively people and full of expertise about all sorts of things. I sit here on the sidelines from a position of ignorance. Suzanne, what sort of wine did you have? And let's let Fergus examine your tastes.
Oh, my taste in wine? I don't know. I actually do. I don't even know if I necessarily have a good nose for wine, but I do prefer dry wines. I don't like anything sweet at all. So anyway. So you're a famous sommelier? Is that your?
I just run a local wine business around here. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
and he also has. He is one of my favorite people because he is an entrepreneur. He started with virtually nothing, and he's built this business. But I'm not sure whether he's pulling my leg. But he said that he might not be available in the near future because he's going to join the Marines.
That is true. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now you better tell Suzanne why she can't avail herself of your expertise because you're going to join the Marines.
I am. Yeah. In a couple of weeks' time, I'm joining the Royal Marines. Yeah. So, yeah.
Wow. What does that all mean? Does that mean that you're going to be training for months or?
Yeah, so I'm joining as an officer, and so I'll be training for 15 months, and then once I pass out, I then join a unit around somewhere in the UK, and then go on from there really. So
wow.
yeah, I've been running. My company's called Camino del Vino, and we've been going for almost 2 years now. But I'm 25, and I just thought give myself a new challenge, and I thought joining the Royal Marines would be the next step really.
Yeah, well, I guess it's. I don't know if it's a natural progression, but it certainly sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So what's happening to the wine business?
So probably me and my dad are trying to work it out at the moment, but he'll take over the running of it, and we'll just change the model slightly. So it'll still keep going on, but we'll just.
You're still keeping the business.
Oh, yeah. Still keep going on. Yeah.
But I doubt if we're going to be able to come to barracks and ask you to do your morning slot.
Yeah, sadly not. I'd probably be. Well, it's raining here in the UK, so I'll probably be out. Yeah, in the field doing something out there. Yeah, I'll do.
Well, it's been very good to have you associated, and I hope that we can retain an association with Camino del Vino. Is that right? Yeah,
correct.
And and that we will continue to get the benefit one way or another, perhaps through your dad of your wine expertise. But now tell me this, because Suzanne was in Florida. Do Floridians turn out a decent wine?
No.
No. I think no. I don't think they do. I'm probably more interested in Malibu or something like that. Malibu and Coke, or yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Malibu is pretty and better wine.
Yeah.
I don't like New York State wine either, but I imagine there's probably a good one there, but I don't. Yeah. I haven't had one yet.
But one of the things that the Americans, if I can do the generic term, the Americans are very good at is wine production. They have some very fine wines.
On the West Coast they do, yeah, and also in Oregon as well. And it's sort of popping around in various bits and bobs. But yeah, there's a lot of. I don't know whether it's an American thing, but there's a lot of talk about it anyway, and there's a lot of hype about it. But yeah, Californian wines are quite a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're too expensive though.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
Do you sell California wines, or you stick to more European wines?
No, I do actually have a Petit Syrah on our website from California in the Lodi region, and yeah, that sells pretty well. But like you said, it's quite an expensive side of things, especially California is all based off like Bordeaux varieties like Cabernet Sauvignon and stuff like that. So they try and play themselves as the Bordeaux or the new Bordeaux of the world. So yeah, they're very like beefy and hearty wines basically. So
yes. I do like there's a really good in Simi Valley. I think it's I don't know what part of the Napa area it is, but the wines from there do taste really good, I have to say.
How are Americans in drinking wine now, Suzanne? I mean, do Americans sit down to a meal and probably always have a bottle of wine or a glass of wine with it?
Well, I'm sure you heard during the pandemic. I mean, that's all we did was drink. It's like, you used to have a glass of wine with dinner, and it's like, oh, a bottle and a half later. It's like, but I think we're getting back to normal again. We're having just a glass of wine, but yeah, no, I typically I actually went out to dinner with a group of people, 2 people I met at a very fancy bar in the city, and then 2 of my friends, and we all met for dinner at a restaurant. and the people that we didn't know ordered a bottle of wine, and none of us saw how much it was. And so then we're drinking, we're like, wow, this is like one of the best glasses of wine we've ever had. And then the bill came, and then we understood why. It was like a $400 bottle of wine.
Yeah. There are a lot of big investments from large, well, people who've got a lot of money in America. They tend to they invest in wineries over there quite a lot, and so yeah, I think there's definitely from the people up in the higher echelons of society. There's a lot of money that gets invested into these places and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not, I guess.
Yeah.
You have like that would be a kind of a cool thing to have in a wine shop. It's like what is worth spending the money on, for different reasons. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, all they've got to do is to tune into this program when Fergus is around, and
yes.
Fergus, you must tell Suzanne about the wine and the reasons for its name is forbidden, is it?
It's illegal, yeah. It's called illegal.
Yeah, illegal, yes.
Yeah. There's a wine we sell called illegal, and it's grown by a French winemaker, and basically within the wine world, there are certain rules or certain laws that you have to abide by if you're growing grapes within regions. And in France, there's quite a lot of red tape. Basically, this winemaker chose to grow this variety or wants to sell this wine through this variety, but it's not allowed under the laws of the region. And so he's basically gone two fingers to the government there and said, I'm going to produce this wine, and he's called it illegal because it is in the law illegal to grow this variety, but in essence he's just classified it under a different status basically. But yeah, it's quite a nice little thing. So what
grape is it?
It's called Mourvèdre or Monastrell in Spanish. So yeah, it's neat. But within the Languedoc region, or where he grows, where in this particular region of the Languedoc, he's not allowed to grow it because it's not deemed a quality grape. But the way the winemaker Olivier Coste, he's a very clever and quite a wacky winemaker, and he's said no, actually it is really good variety. You should look the other way, basically.
Huh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So there you are, Suzanne. We shall expect you to stun your dinner guests by having a bottle of Illegal on the table.
Yeah, well, and one that I haven't brewed myself. Lots of illegal activity going on in my house. No, just kidding.
You mentioned lockdown and the pandemic, and I mean, a lot of things went by the board because of social distancing and so on and so forth. And part of that was people having dinner parties. Now, first of all, let me ask you, Fergus, have they come back with a bang in this country, or are they only creeping back? Or what is the situation with dinner parties and buying your wine?
I'd say they have come back. Yeah, I think people are having a more, well, yeah, now that you're allowed to socialize with as many people as you want, I think they are coming back. And yeah, I think it's going through, I read somewhere recently that, well, people believe that they're drinking less. Well, I think it might just be a relative thing, like you picked up, Suzanne, that we were drinking quite a lot over lockdown. And I think we're just taking a short-term view on things, that we were drinking quite a lot up there, but we're now probably back to where we are anyway. But I think people's maybe perception about going out into the hospitality and realizing that a bottle of wine will cost, a half-decent bottle of wine will cost you 30, 40 pounds in a restaurant over here. But then you could buy that for 10, 12, 15 pounds in a retail shop, and you could buy 3 bottles at that price and you'd have a great time at home. So yeah, I think people are maybe having a different look at, okay, maybe let's keep the socializing at home or at a friend's house, and then rather than going out. But yeah, I don't know, it's weird times. I think it's still not quite balanced out yet, but we'll see how it goes.
And what about in the United States, Suzanne?
Well, I will tell you, every state kind of dealt with the pandemic differently, and Florida basically ignored the pandemic. And so when we were there, like no one wears masks, no one, it's completely open, there's nothing, everyone is out and about and doing their thing. So they definitely are partying and in huge groups. And I mean, New York isn't quite that way. At least New York City isn't. New York City still has like smaller groups, and you go into kind of shops and restaurants and people are still wearing masks and things like that. So, but I think that people are definitely getting back together again in parties. I mean, our university has an event space, and they basically have every night booked. People are trying to make up for lost time, people getting married, in more of a kind of a celebratory setting and things like that. So all of those good things are happening. Everybody's remembering why we all gather, right? It's to have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
In fact, you said that you went into either a pub or a wine bar, and suddenly all sorts of famous people were around you. Suzanne.
Oh yeah, that was that famous bar. That's LeBron James was behind me at this bar at the Mark Hotel in New York. It's a pretty fancy hotel, and it was so funny because I was sitting there talking to my two friends, and they were looking at me and then looking behind me, and they're like, "What?" And their eyes kind of grew, and I was like, "What?" And it was funny. I was indoors, and I literally felt a shadow over me, it's because the guy is so tall. Anyway, so when he walked out, we were like, "Oh my God, that was LeBron James." Anyway.
I should tell you, because you can't tell from the picture, is that Fergus is quite tall as well.
Oh yeah, how tall?
6'3".
Oh, all right. My husband's 6'3". I think LeBron James is 6'8". Let me just check. Isn't he 6'8"? Anyway, he's really tall. I mean, I feel like once you go after 6'6", and you almost touch the door frame sometimes, that's when that's when you're like, wow, that's so tall. But well, it's a good height to be. 6'3" is a good height.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things is that if you go into old buildings here in the United Kingdom, quite often, even at my age, my height, which is only 5'10", I'm the squirt amongst you, you can bump your head, and that in fact, 5'4" or 5'5" would have been quite normal 200, 300 years ago. And that, in fact, the buildings that remain were built that way. They didn't think of very, very tall people, or that we would develop. They just built for what they had, as it were.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the standard door frame height is 6'8" right now, but it used to be much lower, as you point out. I did a project for the National Retired Basketball Players Foundation. And the head of that was this guy named Charles Smith, who used to play for the Knicks, and he's 6'10", and that is really tall. I was standing next to him, and I felt like I was like a child. I was like a little miniature child or something. But we had to change all the doors for him. He had to have extra tall doors.
Well, there we are. The changes in the world. The changes in the world.
That's right. Now, do we have any reason why people are getting taller? Is it because the wine is so much better?
Yes, that's the reason.
That's the reason. To drink wine, get taller.
That's the reason. It is interesting that that I was a journalist in Northern Ireland for more than a decade during the Troubles, and there was a wonderful bar in a little town called Hollywood, would you believe? And it was called Chicorino's, and it was run by a mad American. And I can remember sitting with Peter Chicorino and having a chat and saying, Peter, as people are starting to order wine, do you think it'll ever take over from beer? Now, that was only in the 1980s. As today, I don't know the statistics, but particularly amongst younger people, is now wine is the drink when you go into a pub.
Yeah. I think people still look I think on European soil, they more look at wine as like a nice wine to have you can just drink it as a sort of like as if it was a beer. I think there's still very much a beer culture within the UK that if you're going, well, you're just out for a drink, I think it'd be unlikely. You'd probably have more of a majority of people having still beer and then maybe gin and tonics or spirits, and then probably wine would come second. I think people in the UK often look at wine when they're having food, and I think that's the association that I think that still dominates, I'd say. Just from reading studies and reading about it in the papers and stuff like that. So, but maybe it will change. You never know. Yeah, definitely the younger generation are more looking into sort of like the natural wines and other things like that. And so it could be a time thing as well.
Do people go into bars in the States, Suzanne, just to have a drink?
Yeah, but I think that when you go into a pub, like when you go into, like, you know, we have a lot of Irish bars in New York. I mean, when you go for beer there, and then if you go to a restaurant, you'll order a glass of wine. I did hear a really funny joke, though. There was this woman who ordered a gin and tonic at a bar, and so the bartender's like, "Okay, I'll get her for you." And she's like, "Wait, don't you need to see my ID?" And he goes, "No, nobody under 21 orders a gin and tonic." Anyway. It's funny.
Right. Can I get serious for a moment or two? Because we are seeing here, I mean, this morning the headlines are that Boris Johnson, who relinquishes being Prime Minister in about 10 days' time, 12 days' time, went to Ukraine yesterday. And I've thumped away on this program is that we all forget about these things. And after a great rush of support, away everything disappears. And he has made a call from Ukraine saying, don't give up. Don't let us bear the pain that this is bringing to us. We went through this in 1940. We had the fortitude to put up with an awful lot of absence of foods and social amenities and so on and so forth. It looks as if we're going to have to do that now because of this particular war. Don't give up. And his concern is that particularly in Europe, amongst the EU nations, is that they're all now beginning to sort of water down their support. Is that something that is of concern in the States, or are you still looking at it to sort of from a peripheral point of view?
Yeah, I think the entire world, once something goes on a little bit longer, I mean, there isn't that same sort of attention to things. But I mean, the United States as a country just gave, I think, the largest aid package to Ukraine recently. So as a country, we're still trying to help as much as we can. But what I've yesterday was the anniversary, the 6-month anniversary of the war, and then it was an anniversary of Ukraine's independence as well. And so I think it's a good reminder that, freedom isn't free. It's something that we all have to fight for every day. And it's, Americans are the same way. There's definitely lots of civil liberties being taken away as we speak. Women can't make choices for their own bodies. It's happening right now. So I think the world is once again at that crossroads where we have to figure out what is important to us as a human race, and just realize that once somebody starts telling you what to do, it's something that you have to realize that you have to fight for. So, but I would say that once these wars or any of these kinds of conflicts continue, you definitely have to keep on trying to keep the conversation going, because they're not in our backyards necessarily. So you have to just keep the awareness on. But what do you think, Fergus?
Yeah, I agree with everything. Yeah, what you said there. Yeah, and good. Yeah, well, good bringing up the Wade versus Roe thing as well. I think that's very poignant as well. So. Yeah, you just have to keep fighting on. Basically, you can't just say that. And I think they are regaining that dominance, the Ukrainians, which is nice to see. And I think the Russians are sort of losing their momentum, and definitely it feels like they're not backing down, but I think they're just losing, really. I think they are just, they're realizing that they can't, they've just gone about it so poorly. And that I think with the whole support of large amounts from the US, but the UK and other European countries as well, they've had a good fight in this, the Ukrainians, and I think they are. I don't know what it's going to settle on, or whether they're going to retake the Donbass region, or if there's going to be an agreement that the Donbass is going to be separate from Ukraine, or if Putin does go completely bonkers and start going T-Tonto, then I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, I thought it was quite a nice message from Boris Johnson to go over there, and especially on one of his last sort of outings as our Prime Minister. I think it's quite a nice message to say, and to signify from the UK that we are still in support of the Ukraine, regardless of whoever takes over, whether it's Rishi or Liz Truss. So, yeah.
One of the interesting things I think is that Boris has been very strong and a great leader when it comes to international affairs. It's domestically, he's got himself into trouble.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, obviously Partygate and other things, and he's just, I think, you do look back on his time though, and you do, but domestically, I think he's done a not too bad a job, given that with COVID and stuff like that, he led us through all that. He sort of led us through this war in Ukraine and been a real, offered loads of support, been a very good leader in terms of that front. And so he's gone through quite a lot of big changes as well, Brexit as well, trying to handle that as well. That's sort of the back end of it, and do the sticky stuff. And then, I just think there's obviously been a few instances where he has been in trouble or done. Obviously, Partygate's not great, but you got to look back and go, there's probably a large portion of the population who probably did do something wrong during the COVID period. I can't imagine we're all perfect, and I think the media probably has a big play in sort of that we're quite quick to judge on their various things, and so you do look back, you've done quite well, but there were probably those slip ups. Probably shouldn't.
It was wine that was his undoing.
I don't know, his birthday.
It was bad wine. It was bad wine.
Yeah.
Now, Suzanne, as Joe Biden seems to have gone very quiet, where does he stand on the Ukrainian situation, and for that matter, on the conscience or consciousness of the American people?
Yeah, no, he's still completely committed to, I guess, I don't know what the right words would be, to supporting Ukraine in their battle against an unwelcome invader in their country. There's no doubt about that. And he's pretty consistent with those statements. What Joe Biden just recently had passed in our Congress is the new bill. It's called inflation, solving a bill, but it's really about green energy. It's a huge change. And when you start reading about it, it's the biggest bill that maybe in the world that's been spent on trying to make a nation carbon free. So that's kind of what he's been concentrating on from kind of the internal politics, but external politics, he has not changed his view on Ukraine at all, and continues to remind us that it's our responsibility to help. And then you've heard that Pelosi visited Taiwan. More people keep visiting. She seems to have opened the door. So that's going to be another. I was just reading, actually, as I was waiting for your message, Keith, I was reading about China having drones around Taiwan, and Taiwanese soldiers throwing rocks at Chinese drones. And I mean, it's going to be the next kind of frontier for these kinds of fights for freedom again, but.
Yeah. Actually, we did use a drone to to fly over Lewis. We've got a little clip somewhere which I show from time to time, and it is actually fun seeing things from the air.
Yeah, it is. It is a bird's eye view, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we'd better fly one over a vineyard somewhere.
That would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's good of you to, I know that both of you have busy schedules, and I am grateful for you to coming on and spending the time that you do. I'm always very happy for you to stay, but if you do have to get on to do other things, please do say cheerio.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we've got a lovely lady who does a program for us, and she was going to try and get in this morning because she wanted to meet you, named Sarah Fitch Hayes, and she is an artist, and she is. Like you, Suzanne, totally and utterly bubbly and wonderful television and very intriguing. But her work mostly is sort of doing Marmite bottles and Coke bottles and so on. And the last program, which is still to be shown properly, is she said, I had a email from a chap in Patagonia or somewhere in South America to say that he'd bought my Coke bottle. So there is a market for it.
Wonderful. That's fantastic.
So even if she doesn't get here in time to talk to you this morning, I'd love her to be in our little group because actually, I am fed up of listening to experts. It is much nicer to have people like you giving opinions and discussing various things, because I think we get the real feel, the people on the street, as it were. And if I may say so, people who are very successful in your own field. But I think, Suzanne, we are going to feel much happier now that we know that we're going to have a very top-class Marine.
That's for sure. I mean, all the best wishes to you, Fergus, and for continued health and be safe and all of that. I mean, I'm sure you're going to do wonderful work. But it's very, very nice meeting you. Well, I will see you on Monday then, Keith. I'm going to probably sign off and start doing more work.
Okay.
It's 5:30 in the morning here. So
right, Suzanne. Could you come another day next week?
Yeah.
Because Monday is a national holiday here.
Yes. Just tell me.
Simply for logistical purposes, we find it very difficult to broadcast on a holiday, so we take the day off to all intents and purposes. So if you wouldn't mind coming on one day next week.
Okay, yeah, I'll text you. Should I just message you which day?
That's great. Excellent.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you. So nice to meet you, Fergus. Thanks, Keith.
You too, Suzanne.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Fergus, thank you very much for being with us. Just the first step of becoming a Marine, you pack your bag, and where do you go to?
I go to a place called Limpstone, which is down near Exmouth.
Oh, right. Okay. And how long is the sort of the getting to know you bit?
So the training's 15 months long. So because I'm going as an officer, so that's the longest in NATO for training the military, basically. Yeah, but they train us very well, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Now the Marines is a pretty tough part of the army. Where would you expect to serve once you get going?
It depends. So it depends on what unit I join. But they're either based in the southwest of the UK or up in Scotland. They've got a couple of units up in Scotland. It depends on what I would want to specialise in and other things like that. So, but yeah, for instance, like if I take an example, 4-2 Commando, they specialise in boarding, and so a lot of them, a number of them are on HMS Montrose and sort of the Horn of Africa and doing anti-piracy stuff there and drugs things over there. So they'd be on Navy ships, and then they'd go and intercept ships.
Do they ask you what you'd like to do?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So, and I'm sure you get a feel as to what they're yeah, I'm sure during training you get an opportunity to understand a bit more about each individual unit and what interests you as well. So yeah. But yeah, and then it also depends on what jobs are available and where you could be deployed and other things like that. So, and what you are skilled at. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because you're what, 24? Are you not?
25.
25 now. Oh, an old man. So actually, I mean, you could have a decade or more as a Marine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I could get to major status. I'm not sure what my girlfriend will think of that, but we'll we'll see what life takes us, basically. So yeah.
So wait until you get into that Marine's uniform. She will want to walk down every street in the country with you. Okay. Well, when do you actually disappear?
So the 5th of September. So we can do another. I can appear next week on next.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, actually, it might be nice if we could possibly get you on with Suzanne again. I mean, the two of you click, and it is nice to hear the difference of opinion and what's happening here in various areas and what's happening there. So I'll try to arrange that if that's okay with you. I'll stay in touch with you, and I'll find out when she is coming on. And if you're available, let's do that because it is, as they would say in Northern Ireland, it's good crack. Fergus, lovely to have you here this morning. Thank you as always for your views and sensible and very sound views, if I may say so, on a lot of things that, other than just wine. But wine, magnificent.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Smashing. Cheers, Keith. Have a good one.
Bye. So there we are. We've had Suzanne and Fergus having a chat. It is now 10:36 on the Thursday morning, the 25th. Is it 25th? Yes. Yeah, 25th of August, 2022. And some interesting points raised there. The main thing this morning, I think, is well, not main thing, but one of the headlines that caught my eye is that Liz Truss, Priti Patel, has come up with a scheme, particularly as yesterday, apparently, where the record number of Albanians waded ashore from small boats, and Priti Patel has come up with a wheeze where they will be sent back. She's talked to the Albanian authorities. They'll be sent back to Albania within 24 hours of landing here to try and deter them from coming and thinking that they can then settle here without much immigration, going through immigration stuff. That's where we stand on what is, generally speaking, the front pages, but also some front pages continued with the death of 9-year-old Olivia, shot dead in Liverpool. And in my view is that although they have discovered the man who was being pursued, therefore that's why she died in her house. He roared in through the front door to try and avoid being shot himself. They've determined who he is, but the actual perpetrator, the actual gangster who shot her, they still haven't tied down. And my worry is that we do have a tendency now not to look at some of these things quite as carefully as we would have 30 or 40 years ago. Anyway, that is my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Let's. I hope that Sarah is going to join us. We'll we'll see if she's checked in at all. No, we don't have any. We don't have any word from her. So hopefully she'll come barreling in and give her the benefit of her wonderful personality, but also the terrific art that she produces, and which is becoming more and more popular, and people are beginning to buy it. Now, we've had a lot of talk. Let us see if we've got something to show you that will ease that. Shall we? Let's see. This is going back, one of the programs that we made when Mirador first started. Let's just take a tiny little look at it and see what we were thinking about 5 years ago. Here we go. There's been a few new additions to the town over the summer.
Whole raft of new eating and sleeping places cropped up in Lewes over the summer. Most of them were in Cliff, but Cote is at the top of the town on the high street. So far, I've only been in for a cup of coffee, but they've been very welcoming, and I suppose that it looks as if it'll do very well. Give it a try. Then there is Aqua at the bottom of the town, attached to the Premier Inn, also new. I've been in there as well, and they were equally as welcoming, and didn't mind that I just popped in for a cup of coffee and not a full meal. But Fuego is something else. I've only looked in through the front door. It's a new concept, of course, of cafe bar. Not new in the continent, I suppose, but not terribly frequent over here. And I haven't been in there because I'm a bit afraid I might go for the bar rather than the coffee. But one day I'll give it a chance. Anyway, some places new in Lewes over the summer, and places for you to try.
I'm here in the village of Charleston, a charming, picturesque British village with a population of 500.
That's not Charleston, Keith. This is Charleston, South Carolina. A charming, picturesque village with a population of 120,000 in the United States.
What about this town, Boston? 120 miles north of London in England. Population, 35,000.
That's not Boston. This is the real Boston. Boston, Massachusetts, population 4 million.
What about this lovely little city, York? I suppose you Yankees have one of those too.
Yes, we do. Welcome to the new and improved York.
Now here's one you can't beat, London. That's London in England. Population, 8 million.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Join us for a journey to different cities with the same name.
A new show comparing big American cities with the small British and European towns that share the same name.
We never should have let you win that little war, Melissa.
Actually, Keith, we beat you at 2 little wars.
What's in a name?
Coming soon to public television.
Little devil on my shoulder, telling me to hold on, telling me to go strong. The decisions that I'm going on, late nights, bright lights, wanna see the city tonight. Maybe I'll do it twice. I say fuck it tonight. That's right, little devil never seems to keep it on the level. Don't care if I'm going to hell, no. I'm gonna do the little devil's I'm gonna do the little devil's deeds. Cocaine, that pain, I can't stop, no way. Gonna check it, really check out as soon as I feel okay. Late nights, bright lights, wanna see the city tonight. Maybe I'll do it twice. Maybe I'll say fuck it tonight. Yeah, that's right. Little devil never wants to keep it on a level. Don't care if I'm going to hell. I'm gonna do the little devil's deeds. Oh, 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 oh.
Okay, look at me.
Do the little devil's deeds.
Okay, back again. Good.
All right.
Okay, keep going. Well, the funny thing is that when you see it on television, they look at the camera and they look very funny.
This was what the prison looked like when the British Admiralty bought it to house the prisoners of war.
So they bought the prison and they made many adaptations to it. One of them, interestingly, they took the doors off the cells.
Good for freedom of movement, but not so good for privacy. The doors survive in the local museum, all that remains of the prison's interior. The prisoners were separated. The enlisted men, mostly Finns, Swedes and a few Ireland Islanders, were put into the prison, 3 to a cell. But it was a different situation for the Russian officers.
The officers, very different case. They were billeted out amongst the gentry families of the town and surrounding areas, not just Lewis. They had freedom of movement, they had freedom of association, and they generally joined in, if you like, middle to gentry class society. So we have an account, for example, of the officers being very popular dancing partners at local balls because they could waltz so much better than Englishmen. There we go.
Not all the Russians lost themselves in the pleasures of the waltz. Many, like Georg.
He sat on the bank while the river still chattered onto him, a babbling procession of the best stories in the world. That was the excitement that Mole experienced in the story Wind in the Willows. And indeed, rivers large and small everywhere all have many stories to tell. The River Ouse that flows through Lewis is no different. In fact, for much of the town's history, it has played an important part. Today, the river carries nothing but pleasure craft. But for a long time, it was a busy, bustling port. About a mile upstream from here is the village of Hamsey. It sits on a triangle of land which splits the river as it curves down towards the town. Hamsey is barely a village today. A few houses with the 13th century church standing in splendid isolation. But Hamsey was a Saxon port in the pre-Norman era. Historians estimate that over 1,000 people lived here, populating a port that saw ships sail up the Ouse to trade goods. There is no doubt that the Normans had a bit to do with its demise. The area was handed over to a Norman lord. But the community was attacked by an enemy it couldn't stop. An army of rats, which disembarked from one of the visiting ships, went ashore and infected the village with bubonic plague, the Black Death. Gardens, very soothing, and Lewis has lots of them.
Hi. A good show this morning.
Sorry?
Been a good show this morning. We've had all sorts of people on.
Actually, in our flight guide, we show 650 meters, but there's a 235 meter overrun, so we're up to nearly 850 or so meters. We only permit single-engine aircraft. We don't allow helicopters to come in, and we don't allow twins to come in, and that's largely from a noise point of view. We're very conscious that we don't want to annoy our neighbours. In the local villages, the 3 villages that are sort of up at the western end of the airfield, as it were. There's nothing down at the eastern end, but Swanborough village, Iford village, and Rodmell, and Kingston to a certain extent. We want to keep that.
What are the restrictions? I mean, presumably you don't have night flying or any of that?
We don't have night flying. We don't have teaching. We don't have any flying for monetary gain or reward. The time we did it was 2 years ago. We've been asked several times by the villagers to, when are you going to have another open day? Unfortunately, we've picked a day which is not very clement in terms of the weather. But out of that, we like to think that we strengthened the relationship with the villagers because we took, ultimately we took children flying and doctors flying and village people, so quite a few of them have had flights with us from time to time. And we think that's important because we like to think that the airstrip and the Aero Club is an integral part of the community.
Good morning.
Do we get served here, or do we go for?
They'll serve you here, but just go and ask at the reception. Yeah.
It's a tightrope walk on an ice edge, honey, and you can play that game, but it won't be funny for long. She's high, she's a skywalker, doesn't matter, just focus your mind on the wire ahead, it doesn't matter, it's a long way down, long way down. So you place your foot to assess the tension and convince yourself to continue knowing it's wrong. Oh, it's wrong. It's wrong. But when she's high, she's a skywalker, doesn't matter, just focus your mind on the wire ahead, it doesn't matter, it's a long way down, long way down. What a spectacular performance. Though there will be no net for her, such a spectacular performance. Who's going to blame her for this time? Oh, Skywalker, this time. world tonight. Skywalker again. Oh, again.
Well, that Claire and John Fowler, Dandelion Charm, they a brilliant couple of artists, and they still play in various parts of East Sussex and further afield, in fact. So you keep an eye open for them because their concerts are excellent, really excellent, and they've got a very good following too. That is really a good morning's work, as they say. It's 11:08, and it is the 25th of August, 2002. It is, as I said, 11:08, 11:09 now. And so it is time for us, more or less, to pull the plug and say goodbye. Thank you for being with us. You can actually catch this program on all social media in case you missed it here or you just want to dip in to see a little bit of here and a little bit of there. But hopefully a good mix this morning as we work our way towards a week today, and that is a good send-off because the autumn season starts, and we have a number of fresh programs, a number of fresh people, and I hope that it will bring to you a streamed channel for Lewis, but for beyond as well. And that you will continue to join us. I think the rain is probably going to continue to thunder down. Just for your information, we have no more of this, but parked outside the White Hart. Some portaloos and other portable containers, or if you like, because there's going to be some filming here tonight. Nobody seems to know much about it's about, but if they've actually got portaloos set up, then I suspect that it's maybe something quite substantial, and perhaps they're going to capture the courthouse, which is a very famous courthouse right across the road, or perhaps they're going to capture the White Hart, which is even more famous. So that is us for today. We've given you a smack of what Lewis is all about. Some of those places, restaurants particularly, have gone because of lockdown. But others are springing up, and hopefully we'll bring stuff to you. I think that's probably a toodle pip, a toodle bit from me and a toodle pip from him. And let's see how things are constituted, if you like, tomorrow. We'll be back at 8:30. We'll have 2 or 3 guests. We'll take a look at some of the things that we have hoped for, want, but mostly just let you know that Lewis and the surrounding area is alive and well, still doing things of importance, informative things, entertaining things, things of fun, things that we can get our teeth into, things that we can frolic to. I better say goodbye before I get myself into trouble. But here we go. I shall try to find something suitable to see us out. It would be nice that well, first of all, to heck with it. Here's what we call a holder, just so you know where you are and with whom. Well, there we are. Well, yes.
Oh, what's you two?
Toodle pip. That's it for today. Here we are, 11:15 on the dot, and some interesting people, some interesting chat. We've got lots of people coming in here this morning. That's terrific. It all makes it very lively. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Say good morning to Lewis.
Hello, Lewis.
There you go. Where are you from?
London.
Ah,
From London.
and are you down for?
We're going to a wedding.
A wedding? Here or down at the Pelham House? It's a lovely place.
Yeah.
Very
Shame
historic.
about the weather, though.
Yeah, God, it drowned me this morning. At 8 o'clock this morning when I came in here, I was absolutely...
Yeah.
But let's hope that it turns it on a little bit better for your wedding.
Let's hope so.
Anyway, good to see you, and I'm glad you're in Lewis. Right, there we go. It's as usual into the White Hart Hotel. We got all sorts of interesting people, and there is a wedding down the road at Pelham House, very historic, almost as historic as the White Hart Hotel. And in fact, on the you can't quite see it, but there is a fireplace here, and it has got TP. And a lot of people think that it's Tom Paine, but it's not. It's Tom Pelham, who was a man of some distinction here, and who is remembered very, very fondly in all the talk about the history of here. And in fact, his ancestor, Nick Pelham, saw off the French in New Haven on one occasion and is remembered very fondly, even though that was in the 100 Years' War, which was in 1300 and something. Okay, last little shout there. So we now have got to really say goodbye, and we'll see you tomorrow. I hope, if we haven't put you off. Never mind.
No, but I was going to do my hair and makeup, darling, in Portland.
Let's see what this one is.